So it's a hazy day here on Ward Island. Over here, the home of Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, overlooking Oso Bay. Nice 68 degrees. Promising of a beautiful day. Hear the birds gathering on the island over there. Absolutely beautiful. Hi folks, Russ here with Open Talk, Russ Hess, russhess.com. Hey, just wanted to share with you, I'm doing pretty good with my plan, trying to get back financially on track. It's slow, but it's working. Just started working my second part-time job, and I just absolutely love it. It's a job where I get to interact a lot with the customers and a lot with coworkers, and so I'll share more with you about that later. But I just say right now, I can see that there is hope and that there is an opportunity to make a difference, probably a little small, a little step at a time, but it'll work. So just wanted to let you know that's all going good. But what I wanted to talk to you about today is something that I alluded to on my last episode. I've been talking about financial, I've been talking about, getting on myself on track there and going that direction. But one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was that it was in the list that I presented last episode, and that was downsizing. I wanted to kind of address that a little bit more and speak more into that, kind of how that's played a part in my life, and kind of, what can I share about that with you and direction I'm heading with that. A couple of things come to mind when downsizing. These kind of come together, and I don't know why that they come together, but they do. Frugality. Downsizing, you're like, okay, you're getting rid of your stuff. You're getting rid of your excess baggage, stuff that you're trying to get rid of, and trying to not have to do the upkeep on. And I've heard a story about, actually this is a real life story, about a company that holds, and this is by example, they hold a lot of property, and it's a utility company that they hold a lot of property, and they're doing pretty well financially, but because of the upkeep of all that property, and that their business model has changed, that they're having to pay for all the maintenance on that. So, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay, the maintenance to keeping facilities going. All these things are a factor. So downsizing would make sense, right? Not having near as much stuff that you have to do the upkeep on, therefore not having to pay taxes on stuff that you don't own. Being able to progress with, that's got a significant amount of impact on your cash outlay if you're by chance holding on to stuff that you've got to do the upkeep or the maintenance or the whatever is necessary to keep that going. The ancillary effect of having, just quite simple property that you have to take care of. So in my personal effect, that is I had property. I had to get to the point where I let somebody else take care of it. Somebody, move that on to another owner to where they can, they have a vested interest in that. My interest is, hey, it's the home was what we needed for the family. I'm an empty nester now, so I don't necessarily need 4-bedroom house and 2 baths, and a full backyard, front yard, and all that. When in effect, it just may be 2 of us living in the house. So that being the case, I don't need all the extras that goes along with that. And that's why I'm trying to say the frugality of the situation is living with less, downsizing so you can live with less. And trying to put that in perspective where that helps you move forward is that you're not always continually having to pay out for those costs, and therefore be able to streamline your finances to where you can actually utilize that income or that money that's coming in to pay for your expenses. You can actually apply that to paying down some of your debt, some of your bills, and that kind of thing. So it kind of feeds itself into one another. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it actually does. So in my perspective, how do you get there? How do you get to the point where you're, downsizing and it has a significant financial effect on you? Or for you, and that is just be cognizant of what you have out there. What do you really need? Bottom line, what is it that what you really need to live? And maybe you need to write this down. I know for my perspective, writing it down or just at least topically thinking about it, understanding, okay, I need, the basics, obviously, food, water, shelter, protection, these kind of things, and being able to just hone in on those. And what I'm saying is, what are you going to have to give up? Well, I don't know that you have to give up. It just kind of depends on the person, do I need, are you somebody that has, and in my case, do I have a hobby? Do I have, hopes and dreams of stuff that just have never come to fruition? Can I just give up on some of those? Not give up on the dream, but give up on my path to that dream. In other words, there might be a better way to get to that dream. Doesn't encompass me having to own everything around it in order to make that happen. So, with the idea of operating with a little bit less, downsizing, and being more frugal with what you have and how to cut costs and whatnot, it's kind of more of a learning process, more of a, how do I become more effective in what I can do? And how does that have an impact in my life? So, yes, you can take a look at it from a financial perspective, but man, there's another whole other perspective along with it, and that is just the freedom of understanding, maybe I don't need all this junk. Maybe I don't need all this stuff. And so you get in that mindset, you also begin to wonder, oh, wow, what have I been holding on to that really hasn't been working for me? A dream, it's good to have a dream, but the question is are you really holding on to something that's actually going to benefit you? And so that's what I guess what I'm trying to say is that without proper channeling and progress towards those goals, you're going to be left with a lot of stuff that is kind of, you've gathered up along the way, hopeful dreaming, I guess, if you will, and never progressing, such as, always a bridesmaid, never a bride kind of thing. if that makes sense to you. So, you know, for different people, it'll be different things. There's a mindset that goes with downsizing, trying to get to the point where, man, I could really operate with just this, this, and this. And, it's one thing for a house. Maybe you're trying to downsize to an apartment. For some people, I really see this as well too. I see a lot of people going, I'll just put this out there because I think it's relevant. I see a lot of people going nomadic. Van dwellers, I believe. And they're really interesting from the perspective of, having to work with less or do more with less, or just to have a more uncluttered life. And what would that look like? And it just, to me, it's very appealing to see these people that have enriched their lives by having less to deal with. And that just seems so appealing because, man, the freedom of that is just alluring to most of us. The freedom of being able to enjoy the moment and not necessarily having to be concerned about all the things that, the distractions of, well, I've got to, pay rent, or I've got to pay my mortgage, or I've got to, cover this bill or that bill, or I just don't have the time because I got all this debt, and then I've got to, I've got to work 50, 60, 70 hours, and we just get caught into that. We get caught into the old rat race. And so what is that like? What does the freedom from the rat race look like? Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's the downsizing. That's a frugality. That's the financial disposition from having all this stuff. And it seems so simple, but then we miss it. Why do we miss it? Why do we not getting the point here? I don't know. For everybody, it's something a little bit different. So, really, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. And I don't have all this figured out. I'm just trying to share it with you because I think it makes sense to, look at my perspective and see if that is helpful to you. Then I think it would be, if nonetheless it's helpful to me to express it so that I have it clear in my mind where I'm heading and what I'm doing, and I can reflect on that and, and then make that known and share that with you. And that's share my concerns. I would love for somebody to, help me along with that. To help me, guide me in the right direction, subtly, but not to the point where they're like, overpowering or controlling me on that. I just want to be able to move on and move in the direction of progress, and for that to be a step towards freedom. And I think that's what everybody else is looking for as well. So, anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents on the downsizing and the frugality of downsizing, and where does that, step into the, like I said before, it's the mix of 3 different topics that I think are really interesting to me. That's financial. 1 is downsizing, and 3 is, finding your purpose. And the third one, like I said before, it's a really interesting concept. We'll get to that in a later episode, but I just want to spend a little bit of time and just talk about downsizing and how I expect that to work in my life is to get me to the point where I have a little bit more freedom. Get me to the point where I feel like I can make steps in the right direction. Get me to the point where I'm not carrying around so much baggage, or I'm not having to maintain a lot of extra stuff in order to live. And I think, that goes along with Not only your physical stuff, but your mental stuff, the stuff you carry around in your head. You know, if I don't have that mental baggage hanging around there telling me I either can or cannot do something based on my past experience or something, or the failure of some past experience or my philandering thereof, then I feel like there is a key there. And that's really what I'm getting at, is that I think there's a key. That's what I'm wanting to share, that there is a key to not only getting rid of the clutter, but also getting rid of the mental clutter as well. Anyway, my name is Russ Hess. This is Russ Hess Open Talk at russhess.com. You have a great day. See you on the next episode.